Man.
God damn. Some new Skeletal Remains. The song Unmerciful. Just brutal.
That's the first I heard it.
That's nasty.
It's pretty fucking brutal, dude.
Pretty wicked. Fragments of the Ageless is the album. It's really great. It came out Friday, so go check that out. All right, so tonight we are going to be talking about the case of Courtney Gordon, a man from the Bronx who was staying with a family in nearby Queens, struggling with some serious mental health issues, crashing on the couch. But one night, things got fucking crazy.
Bro, I got mental issues. I've crashed on couches. Ain't never done some shit like this.
Right. Because he begins stabbing to death 4 of the people in the house, including 2 children. I mean, this dude's fucked. And it's a dark and disturbing story about a man with serious mental health problems.
And it's brand fucking new.
Yeah, it is. Because, it just happened in December. He also attacked 2 NYPD officers who arrived at the scene in very nasty fashion. And it's a sad and violent story, and we're going to dig into those details with you tonight. So, Chris, I mean, we've done cases involving some mental health problems, but damn.
Yeah, we've got a lot of mental health, like all throughout the spectrum of fucking murderers and serial killers. It's all over the place. But this guy was in a bad way, but also it was rough trying to find like stuff about this other than like news articles or whatever.
Right.
So like, I'm not going to lie. There's not a whole lot I'm going to be able to get down to this stuff. But yeah, he definitely had his mental issues.
Yeah, I mean.
And his family knew it.
Right.
And he just didn't get the help or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it. But yeah, I mean, this is a story of a guy that really had some serious mental health problems and was offered help like dozens of times and just refused it. But Joey, we hear a lot about mental health and the lack of decent care for people suffering, and this would be a perfect example of that. But he's also an adult and he's refusing it, so what do you do there, you know?
Yeah, that's tough. I know, like, there's some places you can Baker Act people or, you know, get them involuntarily put in if people think that they're a threat to themselves or to others. And I don't know if anybody looked at him that he was going to be, you know, obviously nobody saw this.
No, not going this deep.
Right.
Violence, I don't know. But, I mean, fuck, man. How do you fucking perfect a system that's so fucked, though?
Right.
You got fucking... The Americans don't got fucking universal health care, so you got to fucking pay for the system. Some people that can't afford it, you know, or can't get it, the help. And then there's also a shitload of people that are fucking abusing the system.
Right.
And there's a lot of hypochondria in our fucking country. And fucking... My girlfriend works in healthcare. I know the percentage of people that really need to be there compared to the people that are just like, and these people are getting fucking assistance and getting to go in for free. A lot of them.
Right.
So that's why it's easy to blame, you know, our system and be like, oh yeah, they're fucked up. But man, like it's so twisted from the inside out. It almost needs to be regutted.
Right.
To try to work properly, and will it ever, you know?
Yeah, and what's interesting is I was just talking to Shane about this. You know, he's in Canada, of course, and they have free health care, but it's not really free because they pay crazy high taxes there. But he said there's waiting lists for everything. So he said a lot of people come down to the States to get their stuff done and just pay for it because they can get it done. So what the answer is, I mean, you get 2 opposing systems and neither of them appear to be working. So what the fuck, you know?
And that's the thing I was going to say about the healthcare thing, like lack of decent. It's just so expensive for just the normal fucking person.
Yeah, without insurance, you're dead in the water. And even with insurance, there's copays.
Even with insurance, it's still ridiculous.
Right. A lot of them won't let you do certain things. A pain in the ass. I definitely want to point out that we have done, you know, we're going to be doing things in our dark sort of way, but we are not demeaning those who suffer from mental health if you've got issues, please go get help. Reach out to friends, family, and don't let it get to this point, because this is just a cautionary tale. I mean, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know much about his past. Like Chris said, there's not a lot out there, but I read some articles. I think we put something together that's good here. Courtney Gordon was a 38-year-old man, struggled with mental illness, born in the Bronx, family in the Bronx. That's where I used to live. They said they tried to get him help a few months before this incident, but he refused. They tried to get him checked into a hospital, but he wouldn't go. Now, we don't know what's true and not. We can only go on what they say, and I got no reason to think they're not telling the truth, but that's what they're claiming, okay? Right. And I read that in multiple articles from different family members that said multiple people were trying to get this guy to go get help, and he just didn't want to fucking do it. And Chris, a lot of people just don't want to admit that kind of stuff, you know?
No, like for real, I'm not, like myself included, there's certain things that not like mental health shit, but everybody has their thing. It's like, this is just something I'm going to hold to myself. Nobody needs to know about it. This is my problem.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, I've got major depressive disorder I'm diagnosed in the VA with that.
Right.
So, I mean, I know what this shit is about too. You know, I think we all have dealt with this, you know,
and so people
in different ways.
People like this dude in general, maybe he's just like, oh, people are going to think bad about me if I admit to having this problem. They're going to think I'm a weak person kind of thing.
Right.
And like, no, I don't have that. I'm not a weak person. I can fucking live through this, and you can't help me. And you can't help somebody that doesn't want to help themselves.
Right.
Like ever.
And certain cultures have that more like that machismo kind of, like you said, like I'm weak if I have to go to the doctor, right, exactly. Especially for psychiatry, you know, kind of taboo.
I don't need to tell somebody I don't know about all my problems that's going on in my head. That's for me.
Exactly. Tony Soprano struggled with it.
Oh, man. We bringing the Sopranos into this?
Now, Joey, I think most men would kind of fall in that category, wouldn't you say, about just not wanting to deal with doctors?
I don't know. I feel like, yeah, probably. But nowadays, I don't know. I feel like if there was somebody else from a lower generation than ours with us talking about this,
right,
their outlooks might be a little bit different, because
without a doubt,
men and boys or whatever have been taught more recently to show their emotions, to be softer. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Not to mention, like I said, back to the hypochondria and some, unfortunately, the laziness in America. Some people look at that shit and they're like, "Oh man, I've got problems. I can't work. Right. I can't do this. Right. I can't have responsibility.
The government needs to pay me.
Apartment.
Right.
Yeah, my parents need to let me live in their basement. The government needs to pay me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, holy fuck! Like, to me, and I feel like to you guys and our. Fuck no, man. That's not even an option to me.
No,
you know what I'm saying? I got to go out and work till I die.
Right.
For shit money, and that's what's going on. But these people are like, oh no, I don't have to do that, because
it's a generation.
Why would I do that? It's going to make me sad.
Yeah, I mean, it's a generational thing, because I know my dad, you know, stories he would tell about shit.
Oh God,
a lot harder than the shit I was dealing with.
You got motherfuckers going to HR because they said my haircut looks bad.
Right. That's what's up.
Yeah, it's a totally different thing. But apparently he had been staying with his aunt in the Bronx, but she had been fearful for her safety. She puts locks on the doors to keep him from leaving the basement where he slept, so she can sleep comfortably, I guess, with the rest of her family. But, I mean, I'm thinking a lock could be easily broken if she's that afraid. But, you know, she was letting him stay there, and that's what she did. And she even grew tired of it, and it had to be scary as hell when you got to lock up the fucking dude living at your house in the basement.
Like, who? Not really. You're locking a person up in a room. Who is the bad guy here? Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
dude.
Maybe that freaked him out more. He's like, oh, my fucking family's just locking me in a fucking room.
Have you ever locked Michael up in the basement?
I have not. Here's a story, though. I
mean, he gets out of control.
I have locked my daughter in a deep freeze before.
That's nice.
True story. Now, the For real, it's true. I didn't lock her in it. Anyway, true story. I did put my daughter in a deep freezer. Like, we were just messing around. She said something to me one day. She was probably 8 or 9. I was like, you say that again to me, I'm going to put you in the freezer.
Oh, shit.
And she's like, put me in the freezer. I was like, God damn
Anthony
it.
Hopkins, that preacher?
I literally lifted up the lid on the deep freeze. I laid her in there. I shut the lid. And I was like, all right, now you got to get out because this ain't cool.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good.
But that's a true story. This is not child abuse. My child loved it. Go fuck you.
Now, they said he was getting difficult to be around and was constantly trying to be in control of any situation, and nobody could tell him anything, so he's just not pleasant to be around. And he's suffering from major depression, and like I said, I battled that almost my whole life, so it's not a pleasant thing to deal with. And when the weather's shitty, I kind of feel worse. It's weird.
No, everybody gets their depressions and shit. Like,
right, yeah.
As soon as the weather starts getting warm, dude, it's like,
yeah, you feel
all
a
right,
lot better.
here we go.
Sun's
Fuck
out,
yeah.
Now, the family said he was driving for a rideshare service, but his car broke down. So now he's out of work, and of course that means no money. He's homeless.
Could you imagine you order a fucking Uber or Lyft, and this is your driver, and that's when he decides to fucking snap out?
Oh boy, yeah, that wouldn't be good. But he's homeless. His aunt has now kicked him out. He's on these psychiatric meds, but because he's got no money, he's not taking them. And so it's this vicious fucking circle. I mean, it's brutal. And it seems in this country we should have better things in place, as Joey pointed out. But if an adult refuses, I mean, I don't really know what you can do. And like Joey mentioned about having somebody committed, I mean, that's certainly an extreme. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now, Joey, with all that going on in this dude's life, it's no wonder that he just fucking snaps, man.
I mean, yeah. I guess so.
That's a lot. That's a lot of shit to be going on at one time, right?
It is a lot of shit, but of course the old comparison that we always make is there's thousands of other people that might be in the same situation. None of them did that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Went to the extreme.
Good point.
So it is a lot though piled up on this dude who obviously seems to have some issues and stuff.
Right.
It's fucking scary.
Yeah.
Letting the dude stay with you. I mean, my only, I've talked about this on the podcast, but I'll say it again. My only real comparison, I guess, with that, not being in the military, but my buddy Kelly O'Brien, who passed away, but he was a fucking war hero in the Saddam takeover, and that he came back and he was really fucked up in the head.
Wow.
And he ended up dying from a quick acting cancer that came out of nowhere from something.
No shit.
Anyway, that's a whole different story. But anyway, with Kelly though, what was pretty wild is I would stay with him sometimes at the same place, and he had serious like night terrors and things like that. And there were times that me and him would pass out in the living room. And man, I would be scared that if I were to move or get up or do something,
just jump up and kill you,
just flip out.
Right, and it's not because he has any hatred or animosity.
No,
sure.
It's because it's been imprinted in his mind, and there's such a fear in there from things that I can't even fathom. You know what I'm saying? That
he's got to protect himself.
Right.
Yeah, so I do know that would, I not saying that I would lock him in a room, because fuck that. But, being cautious around people like that,
right?
You never think that something like that might happen.
Exactly.
It's not, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not always because somebody has a hatred or a grudge or anything. Sometimes it's just because, like you said, they snap for whatever reason.
And I don't want to
take so much, right?
At the end of that rope when it snaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Chris, I read in an article that he was arguing with his aunt about some security cameras she had, and they started arguing because he thought she was watching him, and then the evil music about killing and playing it really loud. Did you see that?
Well, yeah, she said that he was playing all this fucking evil music that was talking about killing people, and it was very loud, and he was probably listening to like pretty much, you name any band that one of us listen to, you're probably gonna hear a song.
Yeah,
but I doubt it.
My mind defaulted to 3-6 Mafia for some reason.
I was just getting ready to go to Brother Lynch hung. Because, like, he'd been listening to some Brother Lynch, like, oh, man, you better pray when I put that 9 up in that pussy, yo.
Oh, yeah. There's just so many options. But, I mean, he's from New York City. So I'm thinking, maybe Suffocation or maybe some Cannibal Corpse, because we know they're originally from New York, not New York City. But some great New York bands that Courtney could have been jamming down in that basement, scaring the shit out of his aunt upstairs.
It was probably Belle Biv DeVoe.
And he did have a prior arrest for domestic issues involving strangulation. So
I saw that.
Pretty ominous. And when he was younger, though, he was married. He had 3 kids and a decent job. But things fell apart in his life and just continued to spiral down. So police responded to this call December 3rd, 2023. So like Chris said, just a couple months ago, that came into 911 from one of the victims that Courtney, had assaulted. Attacked. And Courtney lit the couch that he had been sleeping on fire. So,
man, I'm glad you fucking keep saying he, because I don't want to go home and my old lady done lit the couch on fire, bro.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, they let you sleep on the fucking couch. Like, how disrespectful. I mean, not only do you stab a bunch of people, but you light the couch on fire. I mean,
the one you're sleeping on?
That's fucked.
Wouldn't you want to take that
why?
with you?
Like, dude, I don't get it, but what a chaotic scene. Now you got the fire department coming, you get this 911 call about somebody in here stabbing us, and Joey, the first 2 officers show up at the scene at 5 a.m. What happens there? This is just fucking nuts.
Yeah, they show up to the scene. One's a 27-year vet, and then the other 16 years.
Right.
And, they go walking up, and they're pretty cordial to this guy. They see him walking with a suitcase coming out of the residence.
Yeah, he just nonchalant, all right, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not like, they don't like come up guns drawn or anything crazy like that. They just, engage with him and ask him, whatever.
Right.
And then fucking, which is also, I saw, a lot better than if they had just kind of ignored him and went past him and let him go right by also,
man. Yeah.
Because if it had been maybe somebody that wasn't as, wasn't as much of a veteran,
right,
maybe they would have been looking at different aspects and walked right by, going into the residence.
Right.
But anyway, so they did stop and engage Courtney. Unfortunately, he was ready to attack right off the bat.
Right. Yeah, he just starts stabbing, man. Just starts going nuts. And, he stabs one of them in the neck and the other in the head. So that's just fucked up. And these cops are, down fucking...
Don't bring a knife to a gunfight, bro.
I guess. But, then one of them shoots him. I don't know which one shot him, but killed him.
I couldn't tell who it was.
Yeah. But thanks to those quick-acting officers, because, it could have been a lot worse. He could have kept going to the neighbor's house and started killing people. And this could have been a much worse situation. You're talking about a residential area, a lot of people, and it's Queens. It's not, Hayworth, right?
Right.
Now, Chris, there's an 11-year-old lying outside of the house when the cops get there.
This is one of his victims, unfortunately. This 11-year-old girl's laying outside.
Yeah.
She's pronounced dead at the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
But the house is on fire because he lit the fucking couch on fire.
Right.
And shit.
So they had to deal with that.
So after the damn fire department gets the house put out, they go in and they find 3 other victims. There's a 12-year-old boy, and the articles I read, they didn't even release the names at that point yet. So I don't even know if they have it this.
Yeah,
moment.
I didn't put the names in, but
but there's a 12-year-old boy, a 44-year-old woman, and a 34-year-old man.
Right.
Like all that he had already just stabbed before he attacked these police officers and shit.
Right.
And they said it was a quick time, like 10, 15 minutes.
Right.
But that's like a family member that's already in the house, like fucking meticulously you could do that.
Right.
They said it was like, well, instead of butcher knife, I saw just a steak knife is one of the things I saw. Just like a regular steak knife. That serrated little blade just going in and out.
Yeah,
fuck that, dude.
Gnarly. Now, one surviving victim, 63-year-old woman who told the police, when she talked to them, the best she could discern of what happened, because I think they were sleeping. If I'm not, it was 5 a.m. So it was like middle of the night. So these people were sleeping. So I mean, she may not have seen much other than her personal attack, but she survived. So good for her. I mentioned earlier that Courtney Gordon's case came up on YouTube in the Idaho 4 discussions. As I mentioned, he was compared to suspect Brian Kohberger because he murdered 4 just as the suspect accused, and he's just a suspect. But things aren't exactly apples and apples with these 2 cases. But the real issue that a lot of people in the Idaho 4 discussions is that 10-minute window. And here Courtney Gordon does basically the same thing. Plus he lights a couch on fire and he attacks 3 other people. All 3 survive. The cops included in that. That's a lot more, but that's outside the 10 minutes. But still, I mean, this is quick succession. So if somebody is really aggressive like this and psychotic and just snaps,
he's just gonna do what he wants.
I mean, you could do a lot of shit in a quick succession. But the problem with Idaho 4 is there's no evidence left behind other than 1 skin cell on a knife sheath. So how the hell do you do all that and get out of there with no DNA left behind at all?
I don't know.
Very, very suspect. And that's the obvious difference in the case here. But Joey, I mean, in this one, if the family members are sleeping, I mean, he could have definitely surprised them and then, gotten to that many people. Would you agree?
I mean, yeah, I guess so. It's hard to say because the fact is nobody's here for any of this shit. You know what I'm saying? So to be in the house or in the moment, then maybe you can put a perspective how these things can really happen to where some people are like, oh, there's no way.
Right.
Like, bullshit. 10, 15, sit down in your fucking couch
and don't do
look
anything.
At your fucking watch and sit there for 10 minutes.
That's a long fucking time.
Right. And if you put somebody that's in a fucking frenzied state of mind with a fucking weapon, I don't care what kind of weapon it is.
Yep.
I don't care if it's his hands, honestly. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
10, 15 minutes, that's a long time.
Dude,
you could do a lot of damage. There's people
that
do
15 minutes before you get off work and watch that clock until clock out time. That's the longest 15-minute hour ever.
But there's people that do shit that impacts their life or changes the course of their life or whatever in fucking split seconds.
Exactly.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And every day, I mean, there's shit like that happens. So it's like, man, 10, 15 minutes, that
a
long time.
Yeah.
And to those people that are in there, or especially if you hear like the people in the Colorado shooting, the Aurora, the movie theater.
Yeah.
Like if you hear those survivors' tales or Columbine, the amount of time it seemed like they were there with those killers is infinite to them.
Right.
Even though it may have only been 4 or 5 minutes,
sure,
of actual activity, but a lot can happen.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree, dude. I definitely agree with you there. But interesting comparisons. And the other thing too, Idaho 4, there was 1 victim at 53 wounds. So that's a lot more of a extensive. But
you could throw fucking multiple stabs. I bet you get 2 stabs a second.
Yeah.
I jerk off a lot. My fist moves fast. Just kidding.
Now, Chris, a 16-year-old girl, she was the one that called 911, man. What the fuck happened with her?
She fucking got out. She jumped out of from a second-story window. She jumped out of a second-story window like fucking Bob Berdella's victim or like fucking goddamn Ted Bundy did at the courthouse and shit.
Oh, right.
Fucking just be jumping out the window. But she got out, but she was able to get fucking help, call 911. It's like, hey, he's killing my fucking family, dude. So it's a good thing she did because she could have been a victim too and be dead and not got out. And who knows what would have happened if she wasn't able to get out.
Nice.
And if she didn't get that 911 call, that whole thing we were talking about walking out the driveway with the bags in hand, probably would have never known, because he'd have just walked out there. The neighbors would have never known. They'd just been like, "Oh, all right, fucking Courtney's bouncing, pack it up."
You brought up Bundy jumping out the window. I just thought of a fake commercial that would be great. Instead of bungee jump, Bundy jump, and have a bungee jump.
I like it.
Thing with Bundy pushing you out the window or something. Yeah.
That's fucking hilarious.
Let's put a bookmark on that, because I just thought Bundy jump. That's too good.
I like it.
So but the Bob Berdella thing with the naked dude jumping out of the window. Wow. Now, I read interviews with Courtney's mother, who, of course, said that he was a good little boy. We always hear that.
Everybody is.
Yeah, and we don't know, but I read multiple articles about the crimes that he was a normal guy with a wife and kids, and things fell apart, and he just couldn't deal with it. And he got progressively more violent and difficult.
Fucking psycho.
Yeah, I mean, both those police officers were treated at a nearby Queens hospital and released. Both men are recovering.
They're going to live.
Yeah, I'm not sure, if that changed their employment status, if they thought maybe retirement sounded kind of like a good idea. It's a dangerous job. And I know, we just did that false confessions episode. We hear all these stories about cops doing bad things. But in this case, these guys did an amazing job, and they neutralized the situation and put an end to it. So
And there's not obviously no trial or anything, because he's
dead.
He's gone,
and we know what happened. So,
and I don't think the family's going to have his back too much after killing the family.
Probably not. It was on his dad's side of the family was where this happened. But anything to add to this one, guys?
No.
Courtney Gordon, a rare current story. We normally do these stories that have been, 10, 20, 30 years ago or longer.
This is like 3 months ago.
Yeah, this is just a few months ago. So now I did my research by watching a few news stories on YouTube. Not any sort of documentaries about him. Nope. But now people will have this as a resource to find out more about Courtney Gordon. I did read articles from CBS, the Daily News,
that's about all I was.
ABC.
That's about all I did was check out articles and shit.
Yeah, because there's not any documentary more than 5.
I did find I found one dude that did put together a documentary.
Oh, it's hard to listen
to. I couldn't listen to it. I didn't even fuck with it. I was like, I'd rather just watch the fucking news.
Yeah, he had this really weird accent, and I was just like, what the fuck? It was all muffled. I was I can't listen to this. I thought maybe you're putting the subtitles on, but I'm thinking the subtitles would have been like, what the fuck is he saying?
Yeah, not going to be
bunch of gibberish,
Yeah.
But I thought about it. But yeah, there's not a lot of stuff. But if you get in with the articles, you can find interviews with the family members, the mother and aunt, different people in the family. So very, very
pretty sad story that's very recent.
Yeah, and like I said, man, if you're suffering from mental health, like Chris said, just about everybody deals with this in some sort of fashion. But if you need help, please reach out. Get a hold of a friend. Don't just suffer in silence, because that's not good. Now, next week, we're going to be doing the case of Leonarda Cianciulli, an Italian serial killer.
Serial killeress.
Yeah, and Chris, what was she doing with
man,
this? She was very, making the most of the...
Hey, y'all ever seen Fight Club? She making soap.
Yeah. Making soap. Yeah, out of people.
Oh, goddamn. And it's fucking, but yeah, she does.
Yeah, but her son joined the army there in Italy in World War II, so she was very afraid. So she made this soap as a human sacrifice to keep her son safe.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it worked out.
She made the fucking cupcakes for the neighbors and shit.
Yeah,
too, right? Yeah. That's
cannibalized them and making them into tea cakes.
Tea cakes, yeah.
For the neighborhood. So yeah, little cookies.
And we've been talking about doing this one.
Like this.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have
she's been on there a bit. But,
I'm gonna have to re-catch up, but I know exactly what this is.
1930s Italy. The soap maker of Correggio is what they called her. So you don't want to miss that one. It's going to be wild. and going to make me feel very proud of my Italian heritage. You know, tonight
we
talked about the Bronx.
Like this.
We talked about the Bronx tonight, and then the next week about the Italians, and it's going to be a banner week of me being able to say, hey, yeah, I'm from there.
Being a fucking goddamn wop.
Joey, how about some page a day for us?
I got some.
Nice.
So this first one, kind of ironic because we were talking about bodies and freezers earlier, and that's what this first one's about for page today.
Nice.
So November 22nd, 2019, in Tooele, Utah, these police, they perform a welfare check on Jean Suron Mathers, and nobody had heard from her for about 2 weeks, so somebody called in, welfare check. So they find her. She's in her bed, and she had died from natural causes. But whenever they searched her apartment, it turned up something unnatural. There was a freezer chest containing the perfectly preserved body of Suron Mathers' husband, Paul Edward Mathers. Now, investigators estimated that Mathers had been last heard from about 10 to 11 years prior to this, so nobody had heard from him.
Right.
So, wait. All right.
So now Jean Suron Mathers, she was quickly exonerated because the husband had left a notarized note indicating that his wife had not killed him. He had taken his own life using a cocktail of drugs in early March 2009. He was diagnosed with terminal bladder cancer prior to his death. The investigators noted that, in addition to the drugs in his system, but he was also found with a bag over his head and tied around his neck.
I mean, that's not an overdose.
It was just impossible to determine whether, it was placed on there before or after the drugs took effect. So the reasoning behind storing Mathers' body for so long was unclear. And, of course, this lady is dead by the time they find all this shit out, so they can't even ask her anything.
Right.
But Suron Mathers, she did collect more than $175,000 in veterans benefits in the decade between his death and her own.
Really?
So, wow.
I don't know. Pretty interesting story right there.
So she's like kind of keeping him alive, basically.
All right. Now, I got a question. Did we do fucking Martha Beck and Raymond Fernandez? Lonely Hearts Killers?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, yeah.
We did do that episode? Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to bring it back up a little bit because they're talking about it here, but I know that there's, a few different ones, and we've done so many fucking episodes, it's goddamn hard to remember.
Right.
But so, March 8th, 1951, Martha Beck, Raymond Fernandez, they were executed in New York, which, of course, March 8th was just a few days ago. That's why they had this one, because it was
March 8th.
Right.
But, yep, that's when they were executed. So the couple were the Lonely Hearts Killers. They were conning and killing women that they met through the personal ads in the newspaper, and of course that's how they had met each other in 1946.
Yeah, I remember being the Lonely Hearts.
Fernandez was already conning women he had met through personal ads, and he had already killed one by that point. When he met Beck, he had intended to do the same to her, but instead they fell in love. She became his accomplice. They posed as brother and sister, seduce men. 1949, they had killed 2 women in New York, and they were working on a third in Michigan. The third woman refused to marry Fernandez, though, so Beck got frustrated and jealous and killed her and her young child, buried them in the basement.
Jesus.
When the investigators came looking for the missing woman, Fernandez, she's fucking narcissistic as fuck. She acts like nothing's happened, and she lets them in. Fucking, they were both arrested when the bodies are found. They thought they were safe from the death penalty because they're in Michigan, but of course New York's like, fuck you, and brings them back over there. And they were fucking given the death penalty. And like I said, killed on March 8th, 1951. So go back and listen. Go find out that episode. It was a good one. I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
I need to revisit that one.
I don't fucking remember, dude.
Yeah, I remember it, but vaguely. The details are the ones that fade.
Right. So the Lonely Hearts Killers, they said a little bit more on Lonely Hearts Killers in general.
Yeah, because there were others.
It's almost like their own subgenre of fucking true crime.
Right.
But, so, they call them either the Lonely Hearts Killers or One-Ad Killers, but, one that we've talked about, of course, Belle Gunnis.
Oh, yeah.
She's believed to have killed more than 40 people.
Right.
Her one ad that would say, comely widow who owns a large farm desires to make the acquaintance of a gentleman equally
Bring
well
all your money
provided.
in cash and don't tell anybody where you're going.
Right.
Triflers need not apply.
Right? Yeah, that was a good one.
Another one was Harry Powers. Now, he wooed widows he met through a matchmaking organization, then killed them for their money. He was executed in 1932. Harvey Carnigan, he was sentenced to death in 1949 for murdering 2 women in Anchorage, Alaska. Then he gets paroled in 1960, goes on to murder more women he met via more want ads, and he's the subject of Ann Rule's book, The Want Ad Killer. So maybe he's a good one to look into.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
No shit. Like, if Ann Rule fucking...
Yeah.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Harvey Carnigan, and then the last one they talk
H.H.
about
Holmes,
is...
did Holmes do anything like didn't he do some mail?
I feel like he did.
I don't know about want ads, but some sort of mail correspondence, I believe, with the lady in Texas. I mean, how else would he have met her, right? I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, that's interesting. Like you said, subgenre of serial killers, the ones that killed via the want ads, you know. Of course, now you got the Craigslist killer and the modern age.
That's the last one they talk about, and that's Philip Markoff. I was
going to say,
Yeah, 23-year-old medical student, you know, he fucking met his victims through that website. So, I mean, it's probably always going to be something that we could talk about. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting.
2 more quick ones from Page a Day. I thought this one's pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is, especially with, Pete being an author, but this is basically like the fucking greatest hits of true crime books through the years. In 1924, you get librarian and author Edmund Pearson, who does Studies in Murder. That's when that's released, and had a notable essay on Lizzie Borden. So that's one of the first.
1924?
24. And then, of course, a huge one, 1966, Truman Capote's In Cold Blood. That comes out.
Right.
1974, Vincent Bugliosi with Helter Skelter. That's fucking huge.
Right.
About the Manson family case. 1980, The Stranger Beside Me by Ann Rule, about Ted Bundy.
Right.
Amazing.
And then 1994, journalist John Bernard with fucking Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, about the 1981 Savannah, Georgia murders. So that was a good movie.
Nice.
Which they also made into a movie.
They made a movie. I was just Yeah.
And then the last one that I got for Page Today, I thought this was pretty cool. This is one of the quotes from a killer, and the killer that they quoted was Richard Kuklinski, the fucking
Iceman.
And what Kuklinski said was, "Assassin? That sounds so exotic. I was just a murderer."
Yep.
Yeah, he had some good one-liners in those interviews.
Yeah.
Wow.
God damn.
Well, that's some good stuff. Page a Day, always fun. We have done our fair share of murdering tonight. I think it's time to crank up that metal. So, Joey, what the fuck are we got to do?
Let's get our jams on.
Okay.
Yeah, our jams.
Just because CK is past.